Ladies and gentlemen, our honored guests are now invited to deliver an address. First, Mr. Shinzo Abe, Prime Minister of Japan, will take the podium. On this day, 73 years ago, a single atomic bomb dropped here on Nagasaki turned this city into burnt-out ruins in an instant, claiming what is said to be about 70,000 precious lives. Even those who escaped death have suffered hardships that are difficult to endure in the days to come. Young people were also mercilessly deprived of their dreams and bright futures. I reverently express my sincere condolences to the souls of the great number of atomic bomb victims. I also extend my heartfelt sympathy to those still suffering even now from the after effects of the atomic bomb. The tragedies of Nagasaki and Hiroshima must never be repeated. As the only country to have experienced the horror of nuclear devastation in war, Japan has a mission to persistently working to bring about a world free of nuclear weapons. In recent years, differences in the approaches of various countries on nuclear disarmament have become evident. In order to truly bring about a world free of nuclear weapons, it is essential to gain the cooperation of both nuclear weapon states and non-nuclear weapon states, taking an accurate understanding of the tragic realities of the atomic bombings as a starting point. Japan, firmly upholding the three non-nuclear principles, is determined to serve tenaciously as a mediator, bridging the gap between the two and lead the efforts put forth by the international community. As one of the concrete efforts, we established the Group of Eminent Persons for Substantive Advancement of Nuclear Disarmament last year, and we will convene the meeting this fall here in Nagasaki. Having gleaned the knowledge of eminent persons through this group, and Japan will make active contributions through close cooperation with His Excellency Mr. Guterres, the UN Secretary General, who is here with us today, so that the review conference of the parties to the treaty on the non-proliferation of nuclear weapons to be held in 2020, the 50th anniversary of the treaty's entry into force, will become a meaningful one. In addition, for the international community to act together to realize a world without nuclear weapons, the memory of the horrors of that nuclear devastation should be turned into the shared memory that is inherited by all mankind, transcending generation and national boundaries. Efforts have been made in Hiroshima and Nagasaki to have visitors from around the world become acquainted with the horrible realities of atomic bombing and be reminded of the importance of peace. Younger generations have started to tell stories of experiences with the atomic bombings that were passed on to them from atomic bomb survivors. As the only nation that have experienced nuclear devastation in war, and one that knows the inhumanity of nuclear weapons more deeply than anyone else, the government of Japan will steadily press forward with such efforts. Taking the necessity of relief measures covering health and medical services and welfare of atomic bomb survivors seriously, the government will stay in tune with atomic bomb survivors and continue to advance relief measures for them in a comprehensive manner. In particular, we continue to expedite the screening process for recognizing atomic bomb diseases so that we can convey the results as soon as possible. In closing, here in Nagasaki, where prayers for eternal peace are offered continuously, I pledge that Japan will make its utmost efforts for the realization of a world free of nuclear weapons and everlasting peace. I wish to conclude my remarks with my heartfelt prayers for the repose of the souls of those who fell victim to the atomic bombing in Nagasaki. I also pray sincerely for the inner peace of the bereaved families and the atomic bomb survivors, as well as all the attendees and people of Nagasaki City. Shinzo Abe, Prime Minister of Japan, August 9, 2018. Ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency Mr. Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, will take the podium.
Nagasaki no minasama konnichiwa. Minasama ni one ni kakarete kouei desu. I am humbled as Secretary General of the United Nations by the privilege to be here with all of you to commemorate the women, men and children killed by the nuclear attack on Nagasaki on 9 August 1945. I convey my deepest respect and condolences to everyone here today and to all the victims and survivors of the atomic bombs. And it is a great personal emotion to be here in Nagasaki. My country, Portugal, has deep political, cultural, and religious ties with this city going back nearly 5 centuries. But Nagasaki is not just an international city with a long and fascinating history. It is a global inspiration for all those who seek to create a safer and more secure world. This city, your city, is a beacon of hope and strength and a monument to the resilience of its people. The atomic bomb that killed and injured tens of thousands of people on the immediate aftermath of the blast, and then in the years and decades that followed, could not crush your spirit. The survivors of Nagasaki and Hiroshima, the Hibakusha, have become leaders for peace and disarmament here in Japan and around the world. And they are defined not by the cities that were destroyed, but by the peace that the world needs and that they seek to build. From the other side of the apocalypse, the Hibakusha have raised their voices on behalf of the entire human family. We must listen to them. There can be no more Hiroshimas, no more Nagasakis, and so no more Hibakushas. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and dear children, sadly, 73 years on, fears of nuclear war are still with us. Millions of people, including here in Japan, live in a shadow cast by the dread of unsinkable carnage. States in possession of nuclear weapons are spending vast sums to modernize their arsenals. And more than 1.7 trillion US dollars are spent in 2017 on arms and armies, the highest level since the end of the Cold War, and around 80 times the amount needed for global humanitarian aid. Meanwhile, disarmament processes have slowed and even come to a halt. Many states demonstrated their frustration by adopting the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons last year. Let us also recognize the persistent peril of other deadly weapons. Chemical and biological weapons of mass destruction and those being developed by cyber warfare pose a grave threat. And conflicts fought with conventional weapons are lasting longer and are becoming more deadly for civilians. There is an urgent need for disarmament of all kinds, but especially nuclear disarmament. And this is the backdrop of the Global Disarmament Initiative that I launched in May. Disarmament is a driving force for maintaining international peace and security. It is a tool for ensuring national security. It helps to uphold the principles of humanity, promote sustainable development, and protect civilians. My agenda for disarmament is based on concrete measures that will lower the risk of nuclear annihilation, prevent conflicts of all kinds, and reduce the suffering that the proliferation and use of arms causes to civilians. And the agenda makes clear that nuclear weapons undermine global, national, and human security. The total elimination of nuclear weapons remains the highest disarmament priority of the United Nations. Here in Nagasaki, I call on all countries to commit to nuclear disarmament and to start making visible progress as a matter of urgency. And nuclear weapon states have a special responsibility to lead. Let Nagasaki and Hiroshima remind us to put peace first every day, to work on conflict prevention and resolution, reconciliation and dialogue, and to tackle the roots of conflict and violence. Peace is not an abstract concept, and it does not come about by chance. Peace is tangible, and it can be built by hard work, solidarity, compassion, and respect. Out of the horror of the atomic bomb, we can reach a deeper understanding of our irreducible bonds of responsibility to each other. Let us commit to making Nagasaki the last place on Earth to suffer nuclear devastation. And I will work with you to that end. Thank you. Arigato gozaimasu.
Now we invite Mr. Hodo Nakamura, Governor of Nagasaki. On the occasion of Nagasaki Peace Ceremony, I reverently offer my heartfelt condolences to the souls of the deceased A-bomb victims, together with the residents of Nagasaki Prefecture. On this day, 73 years ago, the explosion of a single atomic bomb in the sky above Nagasaki instantly stole the precious lives of as many as 74,000 people and destroyed the town. And even after that, it left the minds and bodies of those who narrowly survived the bombing, with the wounds that will never heal and health problems due to radiation exposure. The town, once reduced to rubble, was restored and now re-emerged as a greenery and peaceful city, thanks to the tireless efforts and dedication of the people in Nagasaki. We must ensure that this peace is more firmly established as our mission. However, the existence of nuclear weapons capable of way more than annihilating mankind poses major threat to the future of us, mankind. From this year on, there has been a new movement towards expanding the roles of nuclear weapons, as nuclear posture review was conducted in the United States and Russia is developing new strategic weapons. On the other hand, the Inter-Korean Summit and the first ever United States-North Korea Summit were held, and the leaders of these countries pledged to pursue the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. I expect that the concrete path towards denuclearization will be presented at the earliest possible juncture in order to accelerate the global trend towards the elimination of nuclear weapons. To achieve the world free of nuclear arms, it is important that countries concerned continue to dialogue in good faith and act in a concerted manner, but there still have been disagreements among them. We strongly hope that the leaders of each state will understand the inhumanity of nuclear weapons by witnessing them firsthand and then explore the opportunity to discuss and take actions together towards the common goal of abolishment of the weapons. Here again, I ask anew the government of Japan, as the only nation that suffered nuclear devastation in the world, to proactively play the leadership role in making utmost efforts towards the realization of the world without nuclear weapons. Hibakusha and those who experienced the bombings have aged further, and their average age is now over 80. Thus, we also request the government of Japan to seriously heed their ardent wish and enhance relief, such as recognizing as patient of radiation disease from the viewpoint of extending relief in real sense, as well as broadening the assistance project for those people who experienced bombings. Last year, the prominent figures who led our campaign for a peaceful world without nuclear weapons for long years here in Nagasaki passed away in quick succession. We are committed to pass on the reality of what the atomic bomb is capable of, beyond generations and beyond national borders, with the ardent wish to ensure Nagasaki be the last place nuclear bombed. Today, August 9th, is the day that the residents of Nagasaki Prefecture will never forget, which is the day of prayer and the day of the pledge that the misery of nuclear weapons shall never be repeated for the third time ever in the world. In concluding my words of consolation, I offer my deepest prayers for the repose of those who lost to the atomic bomb and for the continued good health of the aging survivors and those experiencing bombings. And I firmly pledge to further strive for the realization of the peaceful world without nuclear weapons. Hodo Nakamura, Governor of Nagasaki Prefecture, August 9th, 2018. The telegrams and messages from various circles are posted on the board located on the right-hand side of the entrance to this ceremony venue. Please take a moment to read them.